It's Tuesday. Welcome to the Writers' Corner live show. On the show, we connect authors to each other and we help readers to find new authors to love. You will meet both seasoned as well as new and aspiring authors. And today we're going to invite you to join us and get to hear the backstory of our featured author, none other than the award winning Rachel Hockett. Don't go away, we will be right back. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Writers' Corner live show. I'm your host, Bridgetti Limbanda. I'm a live video camera confidence coach, a talk show producer, and a live stream advocate. And I love to help brands, entrepreneurs, social good initiatives, and of course, authors tell their stories and have a great online experience. And my co host is Mary Elizabeth Jackson. Mary is an award winning author of the children's Poolicious book series. She's also working on another book at the moment and busy with a movie screenplay. She's a mom and also a wife. She's a disabilities and special needs advocate, and she lives in Nashville in the USA. And I am right down in Cape Town in South Africa. So if you're joining us, I want to say welcome to our audience on LinkedIn, welcome on Facebook, on Twitter, on Periscope. Do say hi in the comment. Just drop us a hi. Tell us that you're there. Say hi and let us know where in the world you're joining us from. And if you're going to be watching the show on the replay, just tap hashtag replay. If you're watching live, just say live in the comments so that we know you're watching us live today. Mary, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just listening to you introduce yourself, and you've added a new title that I haven't heard before. The Camera Confidence Coach. I like that.
Yes, because so many people, want to embrace live streaming today because live
Mhm.
video, if you're wanting to get your product or your service in front of people, you need to embrace live video.
Mhm.
But to get started in live video, people are scared about being live on camera, especially people who's done pre-recorded work because it's so very different. And so people need to find ways to get comfortable on camera. And so that's one of the services that I'm offering now. But we're talking about our special guest,
Yes.
Rachel
Yes, we're very
Hockett.
excited. Yes, we're so excited, and we love our show. And we started over a year ago, and don't see an end in sight, I don't think. And we're so excited to continue, and all the great, wonderful people that we get to meet and interview, hear their backstories and their journeys forward, where they're going. And I mean, it really has been a lot of fun, hasn't it? And I mean, it's just like, I mean, you're all the way in South Africa. I'm here in the United States, and it's like we're sitting in the living room just chatting over coffee and tea. And it's wonderful, isn't it?
Absolutely. So, to introduce Rachel to our audience, Rachel is a multi talented,
Yes.
multi-faceted lady and can't wait to bring her on screen. She's a wife, she's a mom, she's a singer, she's a speaker, she's a writer, she's an actress. She grew up in a amazing musical family
Mhm.
with her award-winning parents, Billy and Sarah Gaines, and she shares a Dove Award with them. She Her career includes speaking on the Women of Faith Revolve tour. She's done collaborative writing for a book published by Thomas Nelson. She's done background vocals on Disney's Cinderella soundtrack, A Dream is a Wish. She's also done vocals on Disney's Chicken Little Stir It Up, as well as touring as a background vocal singer for the award winning artist Natalie Grant.
Mm.
Then she's also played Teddy in the Emmy Award winning children's show The Mother Goose Club on YouTube, which is a Netflix sensation with over 20 million viewers.
Oh, that's so impressive, isn't it? How exciting.
Very, very exciting, yes. And then she also serves as an advisor for an organization called My Sister's Keeper to Teenage Girls. And she's also does the creator of a vlog called Simple Sparkle. And of course, what we want to talk about today is her newest book called Hope Rising. Shall we invite this phenomenal lady to join us on screen?
Absolutely. Let's don't take any more time. Let's bring her right on. She can walk down the red carpet.
Yeah, let's do that.
Hi, Rachel.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so sparkly. We're so excited to have you here. You have so many awesome things that you do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You know, it just all feels like, what is the next step to do in life? You know, it's so funny. I hear you reading the collaboration of things that has transpired in my life over, several years. And sometimes I almost go, when did that happen? Who is that person?
Right.
You know, because
when did you have time?
Well, right. Well, I guess it was just, kind of being intentional about taking the next step in front of me. And then it was something that I could look back on. But in the moment, it just felt like, okay, this is the next step, so.
Oh my gosh.
So I want to ask you a question before
Yes.
I even start about your book.
Yes.
This is something a lot of women talk about constantly.
Yes.
People talk about work-life balance. What's your belief? Is there such a thing as work-life balance? I mean, you've done so many amazing things. Do you feel like you've got it all balanced?
Yes and no. Again, I feel like I take life's what it presents me, it's a case by case situation. And so whatever presents itself to me at the time, I go, how does this make sense with my life, with my family, with my morals, with my what's important to me? And I kind of make my choices based on that. And then I work on how can I balance this out within that time frame, within that moment, in that particular season. So I feel like that's kind of how I've always had to approach it, because there have been different things in my life. In one season, I was strictly a singer. I literally was singing on the road, traveling, doing backup work. And then there was a season where I was a speaker. And then there was a season where I was just doing acting. So it just kind of depended on what works right now with our life and with what I hold important, what I hold dear to me, with my value system, what works right now. How do I approach this right now in the moment? Does that make sense?
It does.
It does. And how do you balance it with the children? I mean, I think
that was my question. Yes. How many kids and how do you balance? Do you have help? Do you not have help? Are you, doing that kind of thing like I do, where I've got my notebook and I have to write, we're in the line waiting to pick kids up. 20 minutes, Of
course. Absolutely. Yeah. Wherever you can get it in. And again, there have been seasons where I've been able to afford help and seasons where I couldn't. And so it's in those seasons you go, I remember once I was being faced with going back to work before I was ready to wean my son, and it was time to film. And so what happened was, in that situation, I negotiated, hey, can we work into my contract somehow where I have help on set, where I can bring him with me? Because what's important to me about my value system is that he's only going to be this age for this amount of time. That might not be what's important for someone else, but for me, what I value is being able to still nurse him. I'm not ready to, it's not more important for me to go back to work and film than it is for me to be able to nurse my son as well. And so we ended up working it into the contract where in that season of life, I was able to afford having help with me on set, to where she was there watching my son, where I'd film and I'd be like, hey, I got to take a break now so I can go and nurse my son.
That's
so
great.
it's just dependent on the season. Some seasons it's like, man, I've been able to have help with someone cleaning the house. And then other seasons I'm like, we can't afford it. So it's all me right now. And I'm going to write when I can and do what I can.
Right. And I'm kind of there right now. Yes, I get that. So
Yeah.
It's tough, but we can't, as women, and I know this is all going to kind of come back to your book and stuff, but as women, it doesn't really matter what our age is, but as women, being a mom first and foremost is a gift.
Yep.
And it is a job, and it's not a job for the faint of heart.
Nope.
Whether we are intended to be moms, like I'm saying, like we intentionally try to have children or we adopt, however we do it, or if you're a mom who it happened to you, whether you had a child or you adopted or someone gave you a child, maybe in a family situation. Yeah. Your purpose in life is to be a mother, and that job is our first and foremost job, but we still have to live our dreams, and we still have to nourish that spirit, that soul, that what's inside of us.
Yes.
Saying, oh my gosh, I need to have this identity out here. Also.
Absolutely.
But it has to balance as a mom, because we're all creative beings.
Yes. Yep.
So it's really hard. And as a mom and a caretaker, because all three of us are caretakers here, and anyone watching is, we become immersed in that, so that our identity gets lost a lot of times.
Yeah. True.
Oh yeah. Easy.
Yes.
Easy.
Yeah, very easy.
Yeah.
So Rachel, what gave birth to Hope Rising? Let's start at the title. What gave birth to that?
So interesting past 3 years I've had. My mother was given a pretty dire cancer diagnosis. She just passed in January. But she was given a cancer diagnosis in 2017 that she had 2 months to live if she did not, pursue hardcore chemo and all those things. And they said, and even with that, maybe, I think it was something like 8 months if she did chemo. And we had just gone through a season of losing a lot of family members to illness, and some things were just not expected, friends and family members. So it was a very tender time. It was brutal. It was just a brutal time. And during that time, my mother's faith and resolve that she wasn't ready to go because she wasn't satisfied is ultimately what sustained her for 2 more years. She just decided, I'm not ready and I'm not going. And so she changed her diet, did several other things, and she lived and was healthy. And there was, tumor shrinkage, and she was a miracle. And the doctors were like, what the heck? They couldn't figure it out. And she went when she was ready. It was time, and she went. Throughout that time, I was her caretaker. My husband and I were her caretakers. And during that time, I realized how my experiences of disappointment and fear and chaos had really built my thought process. And so when things started happening, my default was these things that were just dire and sad and, and disappointing. And throughout that time, I'm a believer, I'm a Christian. God began to show me all these things that I had been defaulting to that were bringing this sense of doom and gloom into my life. And he showed me an alternative in that time. It was like literally as I would have a thought and my thinking would start to make me feel really I would go, what else can I replace with this? And there were thoughts of hope. And so that's how Hope Rising came about. When I saw how just having hope and as it begins to change your thought process and as it begins to rise, it literally can change the way you think and then ultimately change the way you live and your actual quality of life. And so that's where it was birthed from. It was birthed from a horrible place of seeing my mom drop 50 pounds like this and sick and be in the middle of horrible situation. And even as she healed, the end was very difficult for us to watch. We literally watched her, disintegrate for 4 months, the last 4 months of her life.
I'm so
But
sorry.
because, thank you. But because of that concept of rising hope, it made me resilient in a way. It was like I developed real resilience that was actually real, that couldn't be snuffed out. And so that's why I learned that it was actually, that hope was like a powerful, violent sword, if you will, that can actually change your whole way of living.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. I agree with you
Yes.
100%. You know, I mean, my dad didn't have cancer, but I lost my dad in December too, you know, and I
oh,
was with him also, you know, that final period,
Yeah.
you
yep,
know, it's
it's,
heart-wrenching. And
it
I want to
is.
agree with you,
Yeah,
unless you have strong faith and unless you have hope, um, it's incredibly difficult to fight your way
it is.
through the inner struggles, the inner work that it takes to be able
Yeah,
to help a person, you know, as they slowly, literally, life is being
yep,
sucked out of their bodies.
yep,
It really is
yep.
incredibly difficult. So, did you
Mm-hmm.
start
Yeah,
writing while your mum was still alive?
yeah, I did. I did.
Mm.
Yeah, I started writing in the middle of the fear and in the middle of it being horrible, in the middle of, I don't even, this book is kind of a miracle because it was written before she was in her active stages of dying. So
Mm.
my mom was able to read it.
Oh,
She knew it was,
Oh.
wow.
she knew it was about her. And
Oh.
she knew it was dedicated. That gives me chills right now as I'm thinking. It was a miracle to write the book because I started writing it back in May of 2018. Um, and this was, May is our busy month, and we call the May in the Hockett house, we call it mayhem because
Mm.
it's crazy town in our,
Yeah.
it's our both of our kids' birthdays, it's our wedding anniversary, it's graduation time, it's all the
End of
things happen in May,
school.
end of school, all of that. And I wrote this book in May. And
Oh,
it was one
Wow.
of those things where there was such an urgency to write it that I literally slept, sometimes ate, and wrote for weeks. That's all I did. And my husband knew, everybody knew, it was like everybody was on board to help me with the kids and everything else. I just let things go to get this book out. Well, I had no idea my mom was going to take that turn in September and that was going to be it. So I wrote the book and actually self-published myself. And it was a miracle. It was a miracle that I was actually able to get it out. But I had to, and I didn't understand the urgency then, but I do now because my mom was able to read that book, and I'm able to say now this book was not written in the upswing of things. It was written in a really difficult place where there was fear pressing us on every side every day, and there was trauma. There was literal trauma happening. So this book was birthed from from a traumatic experience. Yeah.
But you
I
have to
totally
write
get
at
it.
those times.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to write at those times because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of like if you go back and try to remember that stuff.
No, you can't remember.
It's not
No.
the same because
No.
we block things out.
Yeah.
We numb them down, we push them down, and you writing in the middle of that allowed you to write from a place of integrity and
Yes.
transparency, which
Yes.
means it has more power behind it.
Yeah,
And it can
that's
connect
true.
with people in a different way than if you had gone through that whole experience with your mother and then went back and tried to remember.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and it's kind of the same thing for anything. It's like being in that season. And if you don't, and I know you probably know this, if you don't write it down, then it never comes back the same way. Even
No.
if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and a
No.
thought comes,
No,
I know.
it
And
doesn't.
you just want to go back to sleep, you get up in the morning, you can't even remember it.
No.
You're like, oh God, it was so good too. What
That's so
was
true. If you
that?
don't write it down, you lose it in the moment. It's so
I
true.
know.
If you don't just go, I'm pushing through and I'm staying awake and writing it down, it will be gone the next day. That's so true. And the other
Absolutely.
thing is that grieving a loss is so much harder to me than trying to survive in the middle of whatever it is you're trying to preserve.
Oh, I
So,
agree.
so right now I wouldn't have the capacity to write a book right now. There's
Mhm.
so much that I've lost. I'm just trying to survive right now.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
there's so much that when you have a mother like she the loss is it
Well, there's no
flavors everything.
bound. Yeah, there's no bound, and there's memories everywhere, and it's like Bridgetti and I've talked because you and I met, I think 2 weeks after my dad had passed in the summer.
Yes,
That's when you and I met.
Yes, we did.
And I remember I think it was you who said it to me. How are you walking around and talking to anyone?
Yeah.
I think, didn't you say that to me?
I did.
And I did. She did. She does with the words, like we just met, and then we talked that it was like her mom. She told me about her mom, and then I told her about my dad, and she just like, how are you walking around and talking? Yeah. And I was like, and I stopped and I thought for a second. I'm like, I don't know exactly. All I know is that I'm on autopilot because I have kids, and kids don't let you really stop and go through the process, especially when you have littles. That your older ones can give you space. Yes. But I also didn't want to grieve in front of them as much as what I was feeling, because it was depressing them so much, and they needed me to be there for them to process how they felt about losing their grandfather. You know, because we lost my dad, and then 2 days later we lost my aunt, who is his sister, his brother's wife, and then yesterday we just lost my cousin, who was on my dad's side as well, and it's just like, whoa, what is happening here? So but I'm so sorry for my aunt and my family, and you know, but I know for me, and I think for Bridgetti too, and probably you, and I think you and I discussed this as well, sometimes you're sitting in that so much and it feels so yucky that I know for me, I had to go, I got to put this on the shelf. I have to go for it. I can't sit in this anymore. It feels so awful. Yeah. You know, it's like sitting in the mud and you're stuck and everything stinks and it smells and you're hot and sweaty, and you know, you just physically feel so physically bad from it. You just go, I can't do this anymore. So for you wrote a lot of that. So like you did your own therapy through all of it.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I never thought about that, but yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
You were your own therapist.
Yes.
I was going to ask you about that, but before I talk about that, I wanted to say a special hello to Hamad on YouTube. Hamad is a young man who started his own YouTube channel. And he does amazing things. So I just wanted to give a shout out and say hello to Hamad on YouTube.
Hello. So where can we find him? Where can we all find him on YouTube?
His channel's called The Adventures of Hamad Asif.
Okay, we're gonna have to go look him up.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a wonderful young man. But so I was gonna talk about, you know, for a minute just how therapeutic writing can be if you're in the midst of a storm.
Yes.
You know, there's this book called, I think, I forgot her name now. There's this book called Writing Out the Storm. And every time somebody writes a book, something similar to this, I think of that, you know, it's literally it's literally riding the wave and writing through the storms of emotions that you're feeling.
Yes. So true. That's so true. You know, I found even as we're, you know, and when I wrote that book, we were expecting a different outcome. You know, we were expecting that she wasn't going to get sicker, that we were expecting that she would go in a different direction. And so, you know, it's a different outcome. But I found that during this time, even though I'm not writing a book per se, I find that so much of the healing is still coming from waking up in the middle of the night and jotting down the thoughts I have about what really was happening, or the beauty that I found while we were in the hospital. You know, my memories are going, oh, that was beautiful when that happened. Or, you know, when so-and-so was there and came to visit, that was a beautiful thing. So I'm some of the narrative of last year is still being rewritten for me right now. And even though I'm not writing again for something public, I know it's still bringing healing to me to, like you said, continue to write throughout this stage, just continuing to write. And like you said, Mary, waking up in the middle of the night with whatever ideas and just writing them down, it's helping me. And it's also connecting me still to a deeper sense of purpose that I have. Because you can feel lost sometimes when my mom was my person. I don't really know of another mother-daughter relationship like the one I had with my mom. And so it's a lot miss,
No.
it's a lot to miss. So, but writing those things out is still helping me to connect to a deeper sense of purpose. Like I still have a sense of purpose right here. And so it helps you. It helps you to have something to keep waking up for. Of course, outside of your family, my husband and my children, but
right. But your internal soul purpose.
Exactly.
Okay, I have a reason to be here. And you do have as a wife and a mother, because your children need you. But what is your internal soul purpose? And your mom would want that for you.
Well,
she would
my mother
never want you to give up.
Right. Well, my mother was one of the main people my mother was the mom who she homeschooled all three of us, her children, from kindergarten through high school. And she had a full-time career. I don't understand. She did.
Wow.
But one of the things that I love about her is that she would always say to me, when she would catch me trying to strive to do what she did, because she was like the ultimate for me, she'd say to me, everything I did, I shouldn't have done. Just because I did it doesn't mean I should have done it. And so for you, don't do everything that I did. And she gave me permission
to be yourself,
to be myself.
Yeah.
And she would say to me when I would say, well, Mom, I don't want to miss this part of the kids, this, and I don't want to miss this. And she would say, your kids are not the only people that need you. She would say, you came here with a list of things that God put in you before, when you were Rachel Elizabeth Gaines. There were a set of things put in you. I know I could bawl about that right now. She'd say there were things that were put in you before you became Brian's wife. Before you became Briley and Olivia's mom, there were things that God put in you that were just for you. And you need to do those things. And your children and your husband need you to be that person. They need to do those things. They don't need you to deny who it is that you are.
So much sense in that.
To the table for them. And so those are some of the things that she said that have really liberated me, and I just hear her voice saying, just because I did it doesn't mean I should have. Don't do that. Don't wear yourself out. Don't kill yourself. Get help if you can. If you can afford it, get the help. If you can do this, don't try to be Superwoman. Don't do all those things. It pulls away from who you are as a person, who God put you on this earth to be. If it's taken away from that, then, put it to the side or get help.
There's so much truth in that,
Yes.
Yeah. Unless we happy internally, we can't spread that happiness. We can't share happiness with our family. So it's not really us first.
Yeah, and we can't take the outside and try to fill what's in here, do y'all know who Dr. Mendoza is? I was listening to him this morning and for a few minutes, and he was talking exactly about that. Like when we get that feeling and that understanding of that part of ourselves, like what you're talking about, and then we can look at life with wonderment, and we can see that wonderment and joy and that purpose in our life. Your total life changes about everything. It doesn't mean your external life changes totally. You know what I mean? Because we can't change everybody. No. So there's still going to be those experiences that we have in life, but we as a person, we have more resilience. We can come back from it.
It's so true.
We can be that standing person that can show the way. Okay, you can still get through this. And we can still find that wonderment. And your next book needs to be What My Mama Said. I don't know, something like that.
No, listen, you are probably the fifth person who has said to me, you have to write about your relationship with your mother, because my relationship with my mother was
intertwined.
Very other. It was this sacred, holy, beautiful thing. That just our relationship, and just that we so understood each other just by a look, just by a touch, just by a glance. That is so
special.
Yeah, you're making me want to cry.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
That is very special.
Yes,
very
it is.
Special.
It is. So yes, I will write a book about that for sure. That is for sure. Yeah.
So Rachel, where can people find your book, and how can people connect with you?
Oh boy. Okay. So the book will be available later this year. We're either thinking, I'm not completely sure if we're going to go with the Amazon route or exactly what we're going to choose. But follow me on Facebook, Rachel Hockett. I'm Rachel Hockett on Facebook. You can also follow me on rachelhockett.com. There's my website. And if anything, we'll announce, where you can purchase the book on my website and on Facebook. So follow me in those places and we'll let you know how you can find the book.
Wonderful, wonderful. Tell me very quickly, as the last question, why did you go the self-publishing route? I mean, you had so much stuff on your hands. At what time?
Oh, Lord. You know what? Okay. Well, it was a time issue. It was a time issue. And again, I feel like it was one of those things where we have this inner compass that I call the Holy Spirit, or your inner compass. Mm-hmm. And even people who don't believe have an inner compass, where you just know, you intuitively know this needs to happen like fast. Mm-hmm. I knew I didn't have a chance. I knew that I didn't have time to go through getting a literary agent and shopping it and all those things. And so I just went, I got to do it myself. I just knew that time was of the essence and that it was an urgency to have the book in my hands. And now I understand that my mother needed to have it in her hands. My mother needed to have the opportunity to read it before she got sick. And so I didn't know at the time that that's why. But, hindsight, I'm like, oh, that's why. That's why there was such an urgency for me to do it that way. So, yeah, I didn't know that then, but now I know now.
Wow, that is amazing. Rachel, it was so great to have you join us on the show today.
Thank you.
We could go on talking for hours because
the
three of us seem to have so much in common at the same time.
Yeah. Yes.
It's great energy here. So we have to have Rachel back on.
Please. I would love to come back on.
I would absolutely love for that to happen. So I want to say thank you to our guests. Thank you to everyone who's watched us today live. And if you're going to be watching this on the replay, thank you to you as well. Rachel, a huge, big thank you. And we really would love to have you back again sometime.
Yes, I would love that as well. Thank you so much for having me on. It's such an honor.
Big pleasure. So from me in Cape Town, South Africa, it's goodbye for now.
And we're in the US. Goodbye from us.
Bye.